Hello and welcome to Baffling Cyclops. I'm David.
I'm Pepper Proxy.
And I am revved up and ready to go.
Yay! Do you have a new catchphrase?
Fig Newton.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, we heard a guy at the grocery store and we thought he said Fig Newton at the end of every sentence, although we don't really know what he was saying.
Yeah, but I like to imagine, because he was asking for money out front. So I'd like to imagine he said, got a quarter? Fig Newton.
But I don't think that's what it was.
I don't think it was
sounded
either.
like that.
Yeah. I have a little follow-up from last week.
Sure, go ahead.
Did you see the post on Nextdoor about fecal matter all about phase 2?
No.
Yeah, so a neighbor down in Madrona posted that they were very upset because they have a carport and their trash bins are in there. They keep the trash bins in the carport, and they found a large pile of human waste, and they were warning people on Nextdoor that if you have a carport, that you should not position your trash bins in such a way that somebody would have more privacy if they were taking a big fat dump in your carport. And then somebody else posted and said, oh, poor you living in Madrona. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Poor you living in Madrona. It must be hard not to have an actual garage in that neighborhood.
Right, and Madrona is the nicer neighborhood next to ours.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy down there. So I just thought, okay, you still can't just say, somebody took a dump in my carport. Be on the lookout, guys. Bolo. They had to get shamed for having a... I don't know what the shame was, but it was not great.
Wow. So my only thing is I don't know how you arrange your garbage cans not to provide pooping cover. That seems like an excuse for just complaining online. I just want to let people know how to arrange their garbage cans for no pooping.
Well, and that's what other people were saying. And why are you telling us this? That there were a couple people that asked that. But yeah, so it's not ending.
It's never ending.
No.
We live in a medieval slum, as they say.
We do.
I was going to follow up. I made 2 mistakes in last week's podcast. Well, not mistakes. One was a mistake, which is I said it was a Vincent Price movie called Barren Blood that the sound effect was, and it was a Joseph Cotten movie called Barren Blood that the sound effect from Hell was.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
And I didn't think of it, but I probably should have edited the sound into the episode too, although I don't want to curse anyone's podcast device with the sound of hell.
No.
So I didn't edit into the podcast, but I did put it in our newsletter, which you can sign up for at bafflingcyclops.com. And
I highly recommend folks that like to listen to our podcast to sign up for the newsletter, because sometimes when we talk about stuff, there's more information about it on the newsletter or in the newsletter.
Right. And sometimes a picture of something that we've talked about.
Yeah. Or a video of people in a frenzy looking for Ray Dunn stuff at TJ Maxx.
And in this last one, hell. So so that was that. And people remembered hearing that sound on the old radio show Art Bell Coast to Coast, which used to be on late at night.
Okay.
And Art Bell wasn't known for being the most discerning host. Mm-hmm. He more liked stories. So if you had an interesting story about seeing Bigfoot or UFO contact, he would have you on. And his whole thing was to be non-judgmental. And if you look it up on YouTube, you can hear Art Bell building up the hell sound effect, which made it even more hilarious to me. I have to give people fair warning before I play this.
Oh, what was that? Called War of the Worlds? It was Orson Welles. Yeah, that kind of sounds like one of those warnings from that kind of thing.
And Art Bell was he was very much someone that would want to build up a scare late at night, which I think is why so many people listen to him. Because at 1:00 in the morning, you could convince yourself that aliens were peering in through your bedroom window late at night.
It'd be so fun, as a 10-year-old listening to that, hunkered under your covers.
Yeah. I actually had a topic this week that I found on Twitter, on the Twitter account of a New Yorker writer called Rachel Syme,
Okay.
Syme. If anyone wants to look her up on Twitter, I'll link to it in the newsletter. But she mentioned she was reading a book about the Chicago World's Fair back in the olden-timey 1930s time. And she saw a reference to a burlesque dancer, stripper named Dovita, who had an act with doves where the doves would remove all of her clothes.
They were talented doves. Do you think they cried?
Only when it rained. But as soon as she posted about it and asked if anyone had any information about it, people started giving her links to articles and posting bits and pieces about Dovita's life. And I thought I would read some of it to you. And please feel free to interrupt if you have something to say. There are some twists and turns to this story, and I think you would find it interesting, which is, so it was at the Futurama part of the fair, where the future was, in a place called the Crystal Room. And there was a 30-foot runway at this room, and she would perform there, and people soon learned that a 10-cent tip to the attendant guaranteed admission to Miss Royce's performance. So her performance was Rosita entered fully clothed, wearing long velvet gloves. Within minutes, her father released 7 doves who landed on Rosita's gloved arms and head. Each bird weighed 14 pounds, nearly 3 times the size of ordinary pigeons. As the music played, Miss Royce
Wait a minute. I thought you said her name was Dovita.
Well, she performed under the name Dovita.
And her father was her handler.
Yes.
And are they doves or are they pigeons?
I'm just reading the the description, which is why I was like, there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to dig into here. As the music played, Miss Royce would call the birds by name, and they would carefully remove a piece of her costume. It was that simple. So that was the first article that someone did, which, as you pointed out, her dad was the one who was releasing the doves to strip
Jamie Spears.
To strip his daughter.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very odd.
Yikes.
Then someone else sent another article about it. And then it says, in late May, the strain of performing 14 to 16 times a day took its toll.
Oh, so they were quick shows.
14 to 16 times.
Those little birds worked fast.
On Saturday, May 27th, just before her last show of the day, Rosita fainted. When the management offered to refund the admission price, the crowd demanded rain checks instead. The Crystal Palace relented. Rosita explained later to her disappointed fans the combined weight of the doves simply tired her out. So those 14...
So she held them?
They landed on her. By early July, Rosita's famed doves were suffering the same affliction. Though Rosita made 2 fully trained teams, a number of the birds suddenly grew quite ill. Not from removing Miss Royce's clothing over extensive performances, but from perching on her arms all of that time. To keep the doves, Rosita, and the paying public happy and not facing canceled performances, the management eliminated the morning and afternoon shows, now opening at 6 p.m. She complained about performing 74 shows a week and the working conditions of the chorus girls. So 74 shows a week. And the Crystal Palace's manager called her walkout a cheap publicity stunt and informed the press the chorus only worked 6 minutes during each 45-minute performance. That's still a lot for doves.
Screw the doves. What about the poor woman?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, I'm sorry, doves, but...
The manager felt he had his dove dancer in a contractual cage, as she had signed an exclusive rights document with him for 18 months. However, not to be outsmarted, Gil, the manager, telegraphed Sally Rand, requesting under what conditions she would bring her fans to the world of tomorrow.
Wait, who's Sally Rand?
I guess another lady who danced. Royce, relaxing at her home in Whitestone, posed for pictures with her doves and issued a no comment.
Wait, her manager or her father?
This was the manager of the Crystal Room.
Oh, okay.
However, within days, Rosita entered Flushing's Parsons Hospital for a serious nervous condition. Charles Freeman, her business manager, also...
Is that her dad?
I think her dad was just a dove handler.
Oh, okay.
He stated 14 of her 21 doves were in a veterinary hospital, 7 with heart ailments, and 7 with swollen joints.
Oh, poor babies. I'd like to see that show with crows.
I know. Well, this is one of the reasons I brought it up. I thought you could be Crowvita.
Okay, I'll do it, but I don't want to remove all my clothes. We'd have to come up with another little gimmick.
Okay. 7 days later, Rosita's parents visited their daughter in the hospital to celebrate her 23rd birthday. The patient explained the unusual natal occurrence. 2 years
Natal?
2 years ago, I was too young to be dancing, so I made myself very old. That's what she said. Still hoping for a return to the Crystal Palace, she stated, "What I do is something beautiful. I try to make pictures. I try to make striking formations with my doves."
Wow.
So this article has the names of all the doves.
Oh, I want to hear them.
I thought you would. So she said that she first saw a singer from Germany who sang a song to a dove on her hand. And she's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And she's like, and maybe instead of fans or balloons, which is what other people were doing, I'll do
something
doves.
Lighter, like a fan or a balloon or a feather.
So she started out with 2 birds, but she kept adding until she had 7 birds. They're pure white live German doves. The birds are named, and each one knows its name. They are Tootsie,
Cute.
Angel, King, Baby, Lovey-Dovey, Queenie, Picky, and Bonbon.
Lovey-dovey seems like the most complicated.
Well, I wonder if she just shortened it to Dovey.
Or lovey.
Yeah. And Bonbon was just a spare dove in case one of the other doves got sick. Bonbon was the clutch hitting.
What do they call that on a jury?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, the extra juror.
Yeah.
She started with 30 doves, and then the smartest 7 were chosen. Or some were smart and some weren't. She had to teach the birds to keep balance while dancing and not while she was dancing, and so they wouldn't fall off. Took 6 months of just walking with the birds before I started dancing, and they were able to cling on. It took 1 year of hard work before the birds were sure and trustworthy. The birds have various tricks they perform.
I think it's interesting that they chose the description as trustworthy. Okay, an alternate juror.
Juror.
So that was Bonbon was an alternate dove.
Lovey-dovey.
Lovey-dovey is on the A team.
So you think Lovey-dovey might be jury foreman?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Lovey-dovey took like the underpants off.
right.
Lovey-dovey was the star.
Because you have to imagine, because she said she would like pose with them and then she would say their name. And then like this huge honking 20-pound bird would leave her arm and then swoop down to her panties and rip them off and fly off.
Okay, so I was just making a joke. I don't think panties came off in that type of show.
Well,
I think they covered the nubbins. That's what we used to call your boobs when I was growing up. And your pooter, which it sounds like your butt, but it's really the front of the bottom for a girl. So I don't think any of that.
The dove action didn't go in that direction. They definitely took her gloves off, which I'm going to guess was either Angel or King did gloves.
Yeah.
Because you have to think too, like that's hard to get gloves off. It's not easy.
Yeah, unless they were maybe like some type of fingerless glove, which would be easier.
I guess. I don't know. So then the next article, someone tried to steal her act. And Rosita Dovita,
Yeah.
or Rosie Dovita, she had some shade.
Okay, that'd be a hard act. Didn't they say they had to train the pigeon or the doves?
For a year.
Pigeon doves, they're part of the same family, just
Right.
FYI. For a year.
Right. So she booked herself somewhere, and then she had to cancel because she was sick from the dove weight.
Yeah.
And so they were like, fine, we'll get other birds and a different lady.
Okay.
So she said, this is her saying this too. Opening night, the birds left the girl and never returned. They flew onto the tables and customers' heads, which was not in the original script. Maybe I've had some luck, but I think perseverance had most to do with it. In other words, is if a girl is contemplating becoming a dove dancer, it is not an easy job.
No, I would agree.
Billy Rose.
I want to be a monkey dancer. I just thought of it.
Billy Rose once told me I had a dangerous job. I believed it when one day one of the birds flew in my face and claws scraped my eyeball, which very nearly cost me the sight of my left eye. And whoever says they're doves of peace is wrong. They are vicious. And the bite or flap of their wing across your face and your eyes will cut the skin and smart for days. I would be just about as safe working with 7 little tigers. The brutes! Another funny thing is how frightened the chorus girls become the birds when flying around and the girls are on stage. If only they knew the birds were as afraid of them. So after that, she kind of decided maybe she would modify her act a little bit so that she didn't have as many of the doves.
Yeah,
on
maybe
her.
they could multitask. Maybe it's just like lovey-dovey and
And she
bonbon.
and she introduced 3 other new numbers.
Okay.
One was called My Parisian Dance in Cellophane, which the costume consisted of a long silver-fringed cellophane. It would take 5,000 cigarette cellophane wrappers to make that costume. And then the second one was the Moonbeams Dance, using 2 huge discs covered with mirrors. The spotlight catches the discs and flashes. And the third number I call Illusions.
Oh.
And
I
there's
had
no
to say,
description.
It sounds like she was pretty talented and creative for, a 23-year-old woman who was being manhandled by her father.
And I was thinking, like, it's one, I don't want to psychoanalyze someone through news articles, but I would guess being subjected to doves released by your father to make you nude in public in front of other people might be the trauma that caused her to have a nervous breakdown rather than the weight of doves.
Right. Hamburger.
But so I have a picture of her just to show you.
Oh, how lovely. She's lovely.
Yeah, so
She has the really traditional look of beauty from that time period.
Yeah.
With she has a very square face, but super thin eyebrows. She actually looks kind of like a bird.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. And do you think you can pick out Queenie and Lovey Dovey?
Well, of course, lovey-dovey sender on her head, and then poor backup bonbons over here, just off to the side. And can I just say, none of those birds weigh 20 pounds in this photo.
And you can see
That's body shaming those birds. They're like 8 pounds each at the most.
that would not be a good Thanksgiving meal.
No, I was just thinking like a 20-pound Thanksgiving turkey is really big. Those little guys are maybe 4 pounds.
And you can see also her flowing gown, which has pieces of fabric on it, which is what I'm sure the birds flew off with.
Yeah, I think you should put that on our newsletter. See, this is another reason why people should sign up for the newsletter.
So they can see Dovita. And while I was looking up information about Dovita, I ran across another burlesque dancer, which I was very charmed by. She was the world's tallest burlesque dancer, and her name was Ricky Covette.
That's a great name.
And she died in 2016.
Okay.
And she was 90 years old.
How tall was she?
6'8".
Wow.
I know.
She's taller than you.
And I put a picture of her.
Oh my, and she's on her tippy toes to even look even taller. Oh my gosh, I love Ricky.
I thought you would.
I love her.
And I'll put a link to the article, but I'll send it to you too, so you can read the description of her. And there's a picture of her at 90 in her house. Oh my gosh,
isn't she lovely?
Yeah, and her
looks like she collects some things too there in the background.
It sounds like her. I don't know if it was her husband, but her male partner.
Yeah.
Was a nature photographer. So after he passed, she spent a lot of time running his estate because I think there was a lot of photo licensing and that kind of stuff to do. And volunteering.
She's lovely. Even at 90, look at her.
And she got to donate all of her stuff to the Smithsonian too. So the Smithsonian collection has all of her scrapbooks.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I know. And one funny thing that I didn't print out is there was a tabloid cover saying that she was connected to Mickey Rooney romantically.
And he's like he was like 4'11".
I don't know, but he was very tiny.
Yeah, and he was creepy. Weren't there some creepy stories about him?
He's a little weird.
Yeah,
he was a weird dude. But I all I could think was he should be so lucky,
right, to climb that mountain, man.
To climb.
She's a honey.
She is. It's 6'8".
Yeah.
Like pretty and funny and smart.
Ricky, I love her.
Ricky, I know. Well, that's why I was like, Dovita, I thought had our connection to us because you could do a similar act with crows.
Yeah.
Bribed with peanuts.
Yeah, I just don't know what I'd have him remove.
Maybe they could do your hair.
Okay, that I
they could braid your hair.
Yeah. I think that would be a good one.
Or like we watched George the monkey pop one of his owner's pimples.
Yeah, that kind of grossed me out. I love pimple popping too. Love it. But for some reason, I was just like, oh, that could get infected.
Poor monkey.
I know.
He's innocent in
little
all
cutie.
of this.
He is a cutie.
All right. Well, that was my my thing for this week. I thought you'd enjoy the tale of the woman who had a nervous breakdown from the weight of doves.
Oh, man. Well, I'm still confused if her name is Rosarita or or Dovita.
Dovita was just the name that she performed.
Oh, and her real name. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like
or was her stage name?
Ricky Covette's real name was Irene Jewell.
Okay. Well, we all know my real name's Pepper Proxy.
Yes, 100%. She performed. I just love the idea that she performed under the name World's Tallest Burlesque Dancer.
She was.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And to read our show notes, sign up for our newsletter at bafflingcyclops.com.